You are now officially being recorded. I hope you're okay with that. Um, and I am going to stop sharing after I introduce our new friend, Dr. Adrian Garcia, who is available on LinkedIn. So if you want to connect with Adrian, you can find him there on LinkedIn. Dr. Adrian Garcia, he pays people to block spam calls with his RoboCash app, and he is here to tell us today about RoboCash. And Dr. Adrian, it is all yours.
Thank you. I appreciate the warm intro. It's still weird to hear people calling me doctor. I just graduated with a PhD last year, so yeah, it's like I started saying that on LinkedIn because you have to say that when you're competing in the digital currency money. Like everyone puts that doctor title there, and I typically don't. Everyone I know in academia doesn't either because you just know you're a doctor. But I guess it's better for street cred. Anyways, I'll go ahead and get started here. So, hey, my name is Adrian, and I invented the spam cache algorithm to address the root cause of spam, economic incentive. FinCom will license the spam filter for the Internet of Things. The RoboCash app was made to show spam cache's effectiveness in a topical subject, phone spam. Our goal is to stop malicious spam in all personal communication while normalizing the fact that you should be paid for your data. I got my first spoof spam call in 2011 and realized this would be a great social engineering tactic. Since I was wrapping up college and getting ready for grad school, I had no time to think more about this. Instead, I used other call blocking apps. Umail ruined my voicemail, Truecaller sold my data, RoboKiller took my money, and Hiya worked most of the time. But here's the thing, I was paying for most of these apps, and I was still getting spam calls. I realized that over time, spammers work around industry techniques, and it made me curious to figure out why. Why is this such a problem, and why hasn't anyone solved it yet? In late 2018, as I was writing my dissertation, I kept getting bombarded with spam calls, ruining my focus. It drove me insane, and I got obsessed with getting revenge. So I researched solutions from a first principles approach and realized that spammers steal billions of dollars from vulnerable Americans every year without getting penalties. I noticed this was a global problem, and the US was only the seventh most spammed country in the world. So I wrote my white paper a few weeks later and submitted a provisional patent in March 2019. Phone spam sucks. 20 years of laws and apps have not stopped the consistent increase of spam calls. Today's solutions don't address the root cause. They use boring things like spam detection and blacklist databases. Technology is an infinite cat and mouse game. Malicious spammers find ways to beat these techniques because they steal $92 billion a year. The FCC fined spammers $200 million, but only collected 7,000. Businesses suffer from lost productivity and get marked as false positives. Our laws are unenforceable and our tech is ineffective. At FinCom, we addressed the root cause of spam with a refundable paywall. RoboCash assigns a digital wallet to your phone number and sends all non-contact calls straight to voicemail. If a non-contact wants to call you, they can deposit 5 cents into your digital wallet. Your phone will ring. If you answer and the phone call lasts more than 25 seconds, the caller gets a full refund. But if you answer and don't like the call, hang up before 25 seconds and you'll keep their deposit. This is our patented method that lets good callers contact you without paying money and lets you immediately punish bad callers. Additionally, we pay you for every call you block. Your contacts are whitelisted, so they just call you like normal. At RoboCash, we want to give you financial control over your phone. We live or die by the network effect. We will leverage a long-term supply and demand problem to help legit businesses pay consumers via our platform while we take a 30% cut. Each person that joins our network is one more phone number that will never answer untrusted calls again. This reduces the supply of prospects, which hurts good and bad businesses that use outbound cold contacts in their sales channel. Long term, this will increase adoption of these phone numbers. Sorry, the more phone numbers that ignore unknown call, that's the supply. You reduce the supply and then you increase the demand to access those phone numbers. So that's our long-term plan. This pain will drive adoption of our patented business method, which lets call centers and market research firms directly pay you for qualitative data instead of paying advertisers for quantitative data. You decide what your paywall rate is and what your minimum toll rate per minute is. So if you decide I won't talk to these people unless they pay me 50 cents a minute, $1 a minute, or $10 a minute, that's your decision to decide what you think your own value is worth. Our test showed that consumers are 100% more likely to answer cash call versus cold call. We paid people 50 cents a minute, and they answered the phone at 100% of the time than they did with cold call. So a pretty good lead generation tool. Unlike our competitors, we made a spam filter that instantly pays our users for every single unwanted call. Additionally, we help customers increase response rates through fintech enhanced messaging, all with the lowest possible cost overhead. We operate in a blend of sectors that we call financial communications, hence our name, FinCom. We're not experts in any one of these individual fields, but in that blend, we are the industry pioneers. And we know this because we were just granted a patent that operates in that blend. It covers the personal paywall concept, time-based refund trigger, and a toll booth business model. We also have patent pending on message spam. And I like to call out the Zoom bombing earlier. Our algorithm is neutral enough to tackle this spam problem, not just in phone calls, but in text messages, social media direct messages, any form of communication between two unknown parties, we can leverage our patent. So our big vision is to destroy spam communications and all personal communications, and restore the right to be paid for your data. There's so much data that you put out into the world that you're just not getting paid for. With our patent, we can make sure that you are paid every single time, at least in the context of communications. And for product market fit, we currently have 200 monthly average users. We've already made 900 plus payouts for walk call. We have some companies that are interested in using our solution, including one that has made a IP licensing request. So we're really excited. We're getting pretty close to product market fit, and we think we're on the right path right now. And here's our team. My IP strategy advisor, Peter, has had 3 major exits in the last 10 years worth $300 million, and he's super excited about our IP. As for me, I'm looking for any tech or business developers with previous startup experience. So if you know anyone that fits the bill, you can send them my way, adrian@fincom.com. And for our exit strategy, so if we wanted to sell our IP now, Cisco and IBM would be our first buyers because they've been trying to solve this problem for the past 20 years. That's what those 4 lines at the bottom reference. They understand how to sell this to companies like Google, Apple, and the telco. But see, if we grow this ourselves and get as many users as possible and scale, we could be the one selling to Google, Apple, and the telco. Ideally, though, we take this all the way to IPO because I don't think anyone else in the corporate world has the mentality that we have right now, which is designing a company that is designed to pay out every day to the individual users that make up the platform. And if we can IPO with that in mind, we can sort of shift the mentality and create a new sort of corporate culture that is intended to pay out to the end users for their data. That's our big goal, really. So why now? The market rewards blockchain enhanced business models. Brave is the top browser in the Google Play Store, beating out Google Chrome and Firefox. It's a cryptocurrency enhanced browser. And there's major players embracing this space like PayPal. The cybersecurity and personal communications is crucial. We just saw attempts to interfere with our election again a couple months ago with emails being sent with misleading information. Personal paywall would have helped out with that quite a bit, or at least made it more costly for nation state actors to try to attack our political processes. And the FCC requires carriers to implement robocall mitigation by mid next year, which we can help with. And there's sort of an increase in awareness in the public of data privacy and data ownership, which we feel like we're in the right time, right place right now. And so here's my 1 million cups asked. We need more users on our app. If you want to get paid for phone calls, scan that QR code and download this thing. If you're on iOS, you can find our website in that same QR code and enter your email so that you're the first one to know when we release early next year. And then 2, if you know any businesses that are interested in trying out the concept of micro paywalls and nano transactions as a service, we really want to be sort of the Cisco of digital money, i.e. we want to have a money networking solution that we offer to people. So that way they don't have to think about how to facilitate transactions. We do that for them, and we can make a bunch of cool things happen with digital money. So, and then finally, did I express the bigger picture clearly? I'll go ahead and stop there. Thank you.
Wow. Adrian, I would like to say I have been part of the 1 Million Cups program since 2014. And most week during this 6 year period, I have participated in these meetings. So you can imagine 52 weeks a year, 6 years, that's a lot of businesses. And I was a banker before then. And I have to tell you, and I've watched a lot of business presentations, your presentation is about exactly what we are looking for. You hit all of you talked about the inception of your business, why it was created. You talked about the team that's helped you start out the business. You've talked about some of the challenges that you face with the business. And at the end, you included your ask and even ask back from us. So I just want to say I have to give credit where credit's due. This is a very good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's very kind of you. I had a lot of practice, so this is the painstaking process of almost a year of pitching.
But we're not pitching.
Nope. Presentation. Thank you. Yes.
Exactly. It's good for don't get me wrong at all. I understand that businesses need to pitch. Someone's got to pay Adrian's rent while he's building his business. I understand the point of pitching. This is just not that environment. What the idea here is that we talk about some of the challenges to becoming a business, and it's an opportunity for those of us who are listening to this conversation to learn from your experiences. What does it take? And I have some questions about that too, but we're gonna let the other guys talk a little bit. Sure. They like that when I let them do that. But that being said, it's also an opportunity for you to say things to us like, did I express the big picture clearly? Was I able to concisely present my business? Do you guys understand what it is that I'm doing? Those are big questions when you're starting on a business. And I've seen wildly intelligent human beings who are literally geniuses and have found things that are going to advance humankind, and they're not able to do that. And you know what? You can make the best rap song in the world, but if the world never hears it, it's not going to be any effective. So, and that's kind of the same thing. If you found a solution to solve the world's problem, but the world never ever knows about it, that's a problem. Great example is Leonardo da Vinci actually created 100 years in advance some medical solutions, and he never published them. He didn't care. But so we're glad to have you here today, and that's what we're all about. And I'm gonna shut up and let the other guys ask some questions.
Happy to answer any questions.
First of all, it's fate, I guess, that I watched this presentation, which I will say is one of the best I've seen. I get up to 22 spam calls a day. A good day would be only 3. So far this morning, I've only had one from a VA hospital. Who knows what that's about? I turned off my telephone ring so that everything goes to voicemail. And 95% don't leave a message. And I thought, how can I solve this telephone spam problem? It looks like you have found an answer. How do you get the funds to pay your subscribers?
Yeah, so this is an interesting chicken and egg problem. So one of the interesting thing is, let me see if I can find this thing. Yeah, so when I was designing this, I initially was just thinking, okay, well, I'll think about the consumer only and just block phone calls for everyone. But then I saw a two-sided marketplace, one where, first off, let's sort of clear up what an incoming call is. An incoming call is either going to be from a malicious spammer, someone who's just trying to peddle you scams and take your money. Yeah.
A computer.
Essentially a computer. Yeah. So basically, yes. Or two, it'll be a legitimate business who has legit reason to call you. You may not like it. It may be annoying, but they're not selling nonsense. They're selling legit services. Or it could obviously be, a friend or a business contact, but those are sort of the two categories I look at. Right. So as we get more and more people to join this network, like I said earlier, we reduce the supply of phone numbers that answers unknown calls. And if we do that enough, we're going to reduce the unsolicited call profit that both of these parties make. So malicious spammers, again, steal $92 billion a year. If no one picks up the phone, they won't be making that money anymore. Call centers also make money. I mean, call center market research firms. There's a whole host of businesses that make outbound cold calls. So they'll both start seeing reduced profits over time. And then they're going to wonder, well, why is this happening? And that's when I come to them and say, hey guys, I've got a perfect way for you to, get past what's happening here. You're just going to have to pay people, I don't know, 10 cents a minute, 50 cents a minute, whatever. You have to, barter with them. We'll help you do that. And so
great. You're brilliant. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's how you sort of force them. You make it a problem for them, and then we can obviously talk about how the payment platform works. We use something called Nano, which is something like Bitcoin but a little bit different. And so you'd have to have a little bit of money in your Nano account, and that's just something that you really only need to worry about if you're making outbound phone calls. So the businesses that need to make outbound phone calls will work with us so that we can help them, get past that problem.
I was on the bleeding edge of the internet, and before one knew never to put your email address on a website. And guess what? That was 1996. All of a sudden, I start getting spam emails like you can imagine. I know you can. I discovered spam arrest. It solved my problem. And that worked for the internet, email spams. Sounds like you come up with a solution for the telephones spams. My thought was to go to, donotcall.com and enter like 1,000 numbers. That ticked me all day, all weekend. And I'm not sure that works. Even if I did enter my area code's 805. Most of them come from 805. They could be in Washington, D.C. But the spammers figured out if caller ID shows an 805 and you're calling somebody in 805, they're likely to pick up. So, yeah, I would say I get about 5% of my calls from people that I want to talk to, maybe less. It's a pain.
I totally understand. Yeah, you're actually one of the highest average phone calls per day person that I've heard. I mean, most people get anywhere from 7 to 15 spam calls a week.
I'm
You're
very
telling me
popular.
You get 22. Yeah, apparently so.
Jacob had a question.
I've got a bunch, but I was just, I'd actually like to see if you would want to take another phone call on this, because this cross-sects a lot of things that I work on and people I know. How much information can you pass through to the phone user from the source? Like, are you reading that phone number in, for instance, like if you had a government research firm or something that would be whitelisted to your service, so the person would know they're getting a very official phone call, or they're, it might not be in their contacts, but it might be something they're very incentivized to answer. Like, is that something you could pass through? Because I know some phone calls I get, like from the city and the state, it tells me it's from the city or state, even though I don't have them in my contacts. So that's my first question.
Yeah, so we absolutely can whitelist phone numbers, but here's the tricky thing. When you think from the perspective of a hacker and a spammer and someone who's trying to steal money, which I do all the time, because it's I don't know, it's just kind of a weird hobby of mine to think, how can I hack this thing? Anyway,
it's a good hobby.
If we whitelist phone numbers, that is an attack surface. So eventually spammers will figure out that, hey, this particular phone number, it gets through this filter, and then they'll start spoofing their own phone number to look like it's coming from that legitimate number. And then it opens up that attack surface all over again. Now, clearly that's an edge case. I think we are going to have to whitelist phone numbers. And I'm currently talking with a couple of companies that want to do that, and it's a benefit for them to have that whitelisted sort of offering. So we are going to do that in the beginning, but we have to be very aware that this is going to be an attack surface that is potential risk. But the other answer to your question, incoming phone numbers, we can see all the incoming phone numbers. We have to see all the incoming phone numbers, and then we see your contacts. So those are the two permissions that we ask for. Let us see the phone numbers of your contact, and then let us see everyone who's calling you, because that's the only way that we can effectively use this. You had another question?
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't want to talk your ear off, but so your long-term goal, to me, it like consolidates both the markets, right? Because the ones who make enough money to spend their way into people's phones will excel with this, and then on the same side, the customers who are very, I'll use losers and customers as the two sides. So the customers will be able to charge a premium because they're a very valuable person. It's like I see it in advertising with like the LinkedIn problem, where your CEOs have 6 billion emails sent to them, and every single impression is worth $10 to this person, and then you have like everyone else than these extremely valuable people. So I imagine you'll see like a very similar effect in the way your two networks play out, where you'll have big players that know their margins, that can compete and just basically pay $10 to get to everyone's phone in the country, that kind of thing. And then the same from the customer side, where people might see value in a 50 cents a minute, and then there'll be people that you'll have both sides of that. So is that kind of how you see it playing out? Because that's how I already see it going in my head, where it's like there's going to be you're going to have very large companies wanting to basically break the back of the service, paying their way in because they know how much money they make on a phone call.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's a marketplace essentially between buyers and sellers here, where the sellers are you. If you want to sell your time, you can. If you don't, you won't. And the thing is, it still gives you control, because even if these gigantic companies with all this money say, I'm going to spend all this money to make your phone ring and you're going to pick up no matter what. Well, here's the thing with the financial filter, you can pick up and then just hang up on them right away, pick up and hang up. And then eventually they'll get the point. They'll lose money if they keep calling you. And that's what stops the problem. So it's an interesting sort of marketplace perspective, where we still have the consumers in control of their own time, and then getting paid to make the system stronger. So yeah, you're exactly right.
And you said that there would be it's a crypto product would be how you're paying out your the losers, the people wanting to spend in, so they wouldn't be getting paid in fiat currency. Like
currently it's cryptocurrency, yeah, and that's just because we were able to deploy this app all around the world without wondering if we were going to be using reals or yen or anything else.
It makes total sense. But and also the spammers tend to work in cryptocurrency as well. So it's like
I know, yeah, it's a little interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty much why Bitcoin's what it's worth, is because of bad actors. But not saying it's inherently bad, but moves a lot of money. So yeah, no, it's really interesting, because I see this being useful for back what I was saying about like the whitelisted people, where it's like you can do much more effective market research with this, where you're saying like it's coming from a trusted source and you're going to get paid $10 to take this phone call. They'll probably political polling, whatever it may be. Like these are like plugins and services I assume you guys are looking at in the future.
Yeah, big time political. We really want to compete in Georgia, but I'm having a hard time finding people in Georgia who want to work with us. It's a little sketchy when you start talking about bringing in money to basically send propaganda to people, because you can't pay people to vote.
Right, which is
illegal.
Which is my like roundabout way to get to that. That's the big problem, because you said like, oh, corporations are going to do X when they get in. Like, absolutely, corporation, first thing that you do when you IPO, they're going to take the margin that the customer was making effectively, if they can, and like inject themselves into this negotiation where they're going to be scraping it. So it's like, in my head, I'm like, no, please don't IPO. Like, you have to keep this like as a network model where you're just like a sort of layer on top of it, because I do think it, like, at its core, is a good service if it exists as just that market of spammer to end user. But at the same time, I do see like large companies, there's tons of ways that they could use this. So But I would like to go more into the weeds as like of the technology if you would like at some point in the future.
Yeah, I should get your email or something. We can do that. So does anyone else have any questions? I don't want to.
Yeah, this has been an amazing conversation. Obviously, Adrian, you have a complicated business model, and it brings up a lot of other conversation points. So we always invite our speakers to come back and join us, and we would certainly love to see you in the future weeks, just as a participant, to your advice and perspective with additional future speakers, as well as to, for this type of conversation to continue on between all of us. I am going to go ahead and take back over screen because there is some news today and we're coming up on the top of the hour. So I appreciate everybody's terrific questions. It was a really nice conversation here with Dr. Leon and talking about really complicated questions and matters, things that make me want to go do some further research about some of the conversation points that came up between you guys. So if you have additional comments, questions you would like to share with us, you can send those to santabarbara@1millioncups.com. And of course, if you would like to contact Dr. Garcia, we mentioned that his contact information is available through LinkedIn. We also have his information on our database as former presenters. And that's always a great place for you to go, hey, you know what? I remember that business talking to us at 1 Million Cups 6 months ago. Where would I find their information? Well, it's always there. And if you can't find it, you can certainly contact Ahmad or Paul or Steve or myself at the Santa Barbara at 1millioncups.com website, and we'll happily walk you through the process to find that information. So the next speaker, I don't know, because we are going to take an extended break for the holidays every year, usually about this time, usually the week before Thanksgiving. We take a step back and say, you know what, this is a great end of the year wrap up. Why don't you go spend some time with your families on Wednesday morning and prepare for the holidays? We know it gets more and more difficult to come and squeeze out an hour to sit with us. So we'll look forward to seeing you back in January. And we will have a new face doing this. I know you guys are so sick of my nasally high-pitched voice. So Ahmad has gracefully accepted the position to step into as lead organizer, and he will take over this role beginning the first meeting in January. Hopefully he can get Mayor Marino to come see us. Please.
Yes, I will use all my pull.
Share the love, invite your friends to come check us out. Of course, we will be sitting here among you and enjoying my coffee every week. And it has been a terrific honor to serve this role for 2 years now. So it is about time for me to turn over the microphone or the keyboard, whatever. My quote of the week: surround yourself with people who are only going to lift you higher. And that means in so many ways. If that just means encouragement, if that means just listening, just surround yourself with people who are a positive influence on you and who aren't always making you feel like you're not measuring up. And I am proud to say that 1 Million Cups is definitely those type of people. Thank you so much. You guys have a terrific week.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tara.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
I'll send you an email, Adrian.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.